Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Bridge. We was having a little technical difficulties. That's why we're coming on a little late this evening. But we ready to kick it off and get started. I'm with your co-host James Howard, joined by my fellow co-host Chef Irie, and we have a guest, a recurring guest, Detron Peoples, joining us this evening. So go ahead. You have something to say, Irie, to the folks before we get started?
All right, go first or Detroit go first?
Detron can go first, You know.
No, you're
I,
already talking.
I,
I have nothing to say, but hello, good
I'll
evening,
just keep it
and good
simple,
night.
man. Yeah, Chef Ari here, your private chef here in South Florida. Um, heard on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show Mondays about 9:30. So here to cook and also to feed on some knowledge from cool peeps. So hope you guys out there having fun. Welcome, welcome.
Okay, Detron.
Yeah, somebody's asking me what's the link for the thing tonight. So I was like, look for.
They on Facebook or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Facebook.
You tell them you're plugged in. Go to
Okay.
the
You're plugged in.
Yeah.
All right. So this is my intro. Hey, what's up, everybody? Recurring guest. Just your friendly neighborhood financial specialist here. Looking to give my 2 cents so we can make it into $1. That's about it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and be a good person and follow protocol and look through this. Irie, I know what you what the day is. We was gonna as our Caribbean spokesperson.
Caribbean spokesperson, man. That's a lot of pressure, man. That's a lot of pressure, bro.
You got to do it for all the peoples.
Well, today, it's like it's a really cool day. It's Haitian Flag Day, and everybody, why Haitian Flag Day? Why a Flag Day? But as you know, we in the Caribbean, we love our culture. We love historical aspects about our culture, and we are always highlighting and showcasing different aspects of our culture, and the historical aspects of our culture. And this today is one of them for my Haitian brothers and sisters, who are celebrating their culture as well as the flag of their country, Haiti. So the flag was adopted, I think, in 1803 on this day. So every year since, it has been Haitian Flag Day, and it's definitely not only a sign of pride, but evolution as well. La Fête for La was it La Fête for I forget what it says. It will come back to me, but it means strength in unity. The French strength in unity, and of course, a lot of those things had the strength and unity, help them overcome, their victories, defeating, the French, Napoleon and all those peoples. Yes. So today people are celebrating, and it also starts sort of like the rest of the week of festivities. And this is also Haitian Heritage Month. May is Haitian Heritage Month. So lots of festivities are taking place right now, and Haitian Flag Day is one of them.
Okay. Viva la Haiti.
Okay. So we're gonna dive into this quick little list shortage in the US labor force. I'm like, of course there's a shortage. We're in the middle of a epidemic. well, trying to come out of an epidemic. Because I was in Lowe's today, and I was like, they took down the sign that people need to wear their mask in the store.
We're on the honor system now, so honor system.
I'm
But
like,
is that the question? Is there a shortage in the labor force?
well, it's
like,
saying that
question?
that there's a shortage in the labor force, and I'm like, people nowadays really don't want to. When you think about labor force, are they talking about a regular job or a blue collar job where you have to actually get out there and do some type of manual labor?
So, well, labor force participation is about the amount of working age Americans that are actively either working or looking for work. So when you look at the percentage of our population that's of age to work, what percentage of that is actually a part of the labor force? So that's what it's referring to. It has been historically low since 2008. It has not recovered, going all the way back to the stock market crash, way back when we was coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and we were transitioning from Bush to Obama. So it's been bad since then. So when they publish the unemployment rate on the first Friday of every month, what they're telling us is the U3 employment rate, which does not take into consideration people who are working part-time but want to work full-time, and it's also not counting anybody who's been out of work for longer than, I think, 30 or 45 days. So that's the number that's given to the public. Now, what the politicians and the economists look at is the U6 labor, employment rate, which takes into account the amount of adults who are working part-time, who would like to work full-time, and the people who have been unemployed for longer than 30 days. So that number is always higher than what's actually published, which I think is finally down to 10% right now. So that's really the true unemployment rate for America. So the labor force participation rate is low is because really what we have is a lot of people who've been unemployed for so long, they're not being counted anymore. So that's the issue, or that's where the wordplay is.
Well, because I would say that's definitely wordplay. Because how many people have been without a job since last year? And you say, from what you're describing, after 2 or 3 months, they weren't counting them anymore.
Yeah, they're not counting anymore.
Yeah. And I'm like, but the number is still growing, but they're not counting these people that's already been unemployed.
Right. So that's why I was like, when you look at this subject, it matters, well, which number you look at. If you just look at what they say on television, this is the unemployment rate, and I think it's what went up to 6.1. So if you look at that, then yeah, is there, that's not counting everybody. But that's just a number that's given to the public. Economists and Wall Street and the politicians, they look at the real unemployment, the U6 number. So which is public information, but you have to know it's there. You have to go look for it. You know what I mean? To find out what's really behind, the scenes. And the Department of Labor breaks down, the participation and the unemployment rate by race as well. So our numbers as Black folks haven't been below 10% since 2008. I think, under the, when COVID hit, the pandemic happened, our unemployment rate jumped to almost 20%, something like that. So it's always 2 to 3 times, what the publicized, national unemployment rate is. But yeah, so in all honesty, because every month they talk about, the unemployment rate, truthfully, the unemployment number should actually go up as a real sign that the economy is getting better, because that would mean people who are not being counted are now actively looking for jobs, getting in a registered way, that they recognize that, hey, the amount of people that are looking for work, the percentage of the population that's of age to work is actually trying to work. It would show that number is actually, there's more people. And because there's more people, the unemployment rate will actually go up first. You know what I mean? But because of politics, if the unemployment rate goes up, who's ever the president is going to get knocked for having bad policies. And because the whole public has been conditioned to think it's only supposed to go down, and if it goes up, that means something bad is happening. But truthfully, that's not the way macroeconomics works. You know what I mean? Not in this case, because you have so many people on the sidelines. If they come off the sidelines and get counted, the unemployment rate will go up first before it starts to find a new norm.
Okay, I got
Hope
you.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. So, so Ira, you have any take on it, or?
I'm trying to listen to you guys, something, and I'm having a hard time here because for some reason I just can't get the volume on the phone to go up. But yeah, I'll just listen for right now until I can kind of come back here.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next the update on Andrew Brown. They released the videotape today. I haven't seen it. I just heard the family talk about it and the attorneys and saying that from what they saw on the tape, it does not show what the police described and what the state attorney has been describing as happening, what happened on that day. So, well, I'm just waiting to see the tape because I believe I just can't take everybody's word for it. I got to see it for myself too. But we know how situations happen, and I'm skeptical because if the man was coming at you, how he got shot in the back of the head.
So, I mean, I've seen what was posted today. Not, I guess, the full end that the court was supposed to release. I didn't see that, but what has been playing on the news. So they basically show from body cam when they were pulling up to the house. From before they even got to the house, they were, the body cam of all of the cops that were in the back of the truck or whatever it is that they drove. So it shows them come all the way up to the house, and they all jump out of the truck,
Back of the truck,
rush the driveway, and he was sitting in the car in the driveway. As they come up to the car, started to surround the car, he reverses the car. And they still, and they're shouting commands. And then he puts the car in drive, turns the car to the left to go across an open field. And as he is driving away, they fire shots. They fire shots at him. So basically, the shots were fired at the rear of the vehicle, and that's what caused. From what you're looking at, causes him to, he crashes the car, and then they go over to the car and pull him out, and they said, to render assistance or whatever. So I'm not sure if all of that is how it played out. If there's any part of it that's been, I can't tell you, but I can only speak from what I saw today on the news. So when the district. Not a district, the attorney general or a district,
DA.
His, saying that he felt that the officers were justified because he was adamant in trying to point out that Mr. Brown was using the car as a weapon, and basically people see it differently. He see all these people, jumping out of the truck with high less, weapons. I don't know if they were marked police or what. I don't, I can't say. He said they were, and so basically, he was trying, to leave the scene or what have you. So that's what happened. That's what the video shows. So why he got shot in the back of the head? Because I guess the video shows him driving away, and they all started firing at the back of the car.
My problem with what you just said is if he was using the car as a weapon and he's going away from you, how do you justify shooting at the car? That's the only thing I say. That's my only thought.
At this point, he's no longer a threat to you. So I guess that would be the point. And when you listen to the DA speak, basically he was saying, the warrant was to arrest him, and come hell or high water, they were not going to let him go. So, list of people, it was, dead or alive, basically, in their head. We gonna get him one way or the other. We gonna catch this man, and so whether he come, we get him alive or we kill him. That's that's the vibe that you got.
Yeah, because I thought that it wasn't no arrest warrant; it was just a search warrant.
No, it was an arrest and search warrant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're gonna move right on to Daunte Wright.
But before you get into Daunte Wright, because this guy that you're talking about, I'm totally detached from that particular case. What's his name? Andrew Brown?
Yeah.
So I haven't watched anything, haven't heard anything, so I don't have an opinion about that case specifically because I know nothing, I haven't seen nothing, right? But I'm curious because I'm listening to Irie describe it. Okay, he was in the car, he backed out, he drove. Okay, so whether the police shot at his car or whether we want police to shoot at cars, period, when any suspect is fleeing, I think ultimately is going to, at some point, that has to be the question, I think, for policing to improve. Because if we always go about for each particular case that comes up and we're asked to pick a side and choose, okay, what's right for each particular case, I think it just keeps the subject stale and it keeps all progress really just going backwards because there is no progress. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, there will be some, like, I don't want it to where every time there's a police involved shooting and the person that dies is Black, that the thought process is let's look to see if it's worth putting on TV. And even if we know that this is going to get justified in the end, we can hype it up in the beginning because we can get some clicks, we can get some ads, we can make some money, we can get some traffic, we can generate a buzz because all this stuff is marketable to media. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I want at some point the conversation to evolve to, okay, well, how do we want policing to look overall? You know what I mean? So what's wrong? What does it look like to have some sort of national standard or understanding? You know what I'm saying? The military goes abroad and handles other people's military. And they have, while the different branches will, have different training, there's some uniformity to, okay, if you are a soldier, you're a soldier, and there's some, there's some, there's something that's, that's consistent, you know what I mean? And for all these different agencies, it's like all these different little armies that have all these different nuances to how they do things, and different states have all the different rules. It's so fragmented. I just don't see how we can finally get past this because we want to deal with race. This is one of the things we have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like policing is a big influence to the racial issue in this country. You know what I mean? We got in the uproar when the girl got shot by the officer. And then we saw the video like, oh, she was actually trying to stab people. You know what I mean? And then it was crickets, quiet. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this guy tried to run over anybody. I don't know. But you know what I mean? I think there has to be at some point the conversation has to go to what does policing look like? And how do we, as a people, monitor police because it is toxic and poisonous for us to sit up here and take every case with a little bit of information and assume it was search and destroy, slave hunting type, shit going on, because that ain't the case all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what I agree. That's why I said, to me, I don't care if you was white, Black, Asian, whatever. if you was going away from the situation, was it necessary to shoot at that car? And it was going in the opposite direction of you. But you're saying that you was scared and you was in danger, but it's moving away from you.
Right. And then we see so many videos when, white folks is behind the wheel and cutting up and driving away and ramming cars. They're like, you only shot no shots yet.
Yeah.
like where all this restraint come from? So it's so inconsistent. You know what I mean? So it's like when we're the one shot at, it's kind of like you're not surprised because it's almost like that's the way we're used to policing being done. But then when we see a video where they're cutting up too and they're not shot at, we're also not surprised because we're used to the way that's the way policing is done.
As we say, if they was black, they would have been dead.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I don't know at what point did we as a community start talking about the, like if they got you, they got you. Like we got to fight it out in court. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like you ain't winning in the streets with the police officer. You know what I mean? Period. You're not winning. You're not winning.
Or the trap that Georgia has set up right now. Have y'all seen the law that you can use physical force if you feel like you're being unlawfully arrested? You can fight a police officer.
What?
And that's a whole heap of trouble right there, man.
Yes.
I did not hear that, see that. Like, huh? Okay.
Can you drop that in the chat? Because they just passed. I'm like, boy, if that ain't the trap.
and you see that I think there are a total of 19 states right now about that. It's definitely in the teens. States that do not require you to have a concealed weapons license in order to carry a handgun on your person. So I know Texas recently made news about propositioning that, and it's supposed to, I think, go to one of their legislative bodies, and then it'll go to the governor possibly. But if it passes, they'll just be like number 20. You know what I mean? So I find it very interesting that while the conversation around stricter gun laws might dominate the headlines, what's actually happening and dominating action is actually the polar opposite, you know what I mean, of what's being said. So like now you don't even have to have a license to carry a gun. And now you're saying this thing in Georgia. So it's like the shit sounded like the Wild West. I don't know. I'm trying to get rich and move to Jamaica.
It's beginning to be.
My thing is, I'm saying to black folks, don't y'all fall for the okie doke. Don't y'all fall for the okie doke talking about because I said they're gonna do their best to show that the arrest was a lawful arrest, and then what you got? You got new charges. You got assault on a law enforcement officer. And that's an even worse charge for most people.
Can't in the streets. Can't settle in the streets.
Yeah, but we're gonna move right along into this. We didn't even cover Wright and Miss Kim Porter. The update that they have found probable cause to charge her in the execution of him or the killing of him. And right. I'm like, I'm still on the thing. Hey, when you grab it, it feels totally different than a handgun. So when you grab that weapon, you should have realized, instantly. This is not my taser.
Right. They wear them on opposite sides of the hip, don't they?
Yeah. You're supposed to be on your less dominant side.
Right. And that video I did see, from the time he was out of the car, he was actually trying to put the handcuffs on him. So I saw him, jump in the car and try to get away. Now that I saw. So she was definitely, negligent, to say the least. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go as far as to say, oh, she's racist and she just hates black people, nothing like that. But she was definitely negligent, and that's not a mistake you can afford to make. Great power comes great responsibility. You're given charge to be able to detain someone, totally, inflict your lawful authority over their American civil rights. You know what I mean? And you can actually, you have a license to kill. If and it's your word for what happened is going to take precedence over, so much more. So yeah, she should have known better. She wasn't a rookie. You could see in the video before she took aim to fire that, bitch, you holding a gun in your hand. It's just, ain't no damn taser. You know what I mean? This is damn Glock. Look at the square. Corners on this thing, this black metal. This is a gun. So
and my thing is, stop hiring officers. I'm not gonna say you're a racist, but stop hiring officers that are scared. And the least little thing, is fear and afraid. If you're afraid to do your job, you should not be on the job.
True that.
And I feel like it's a lot more officers that are afraid.
But it's also an easy justification to justify, any wrongdoing. You always hear, well, I feared for my life. Hence, me putting 8 bullets into you, 14 bullets or whatever it is. And as you said before, you see other instances where, people coming at you with literally chainsaws, knives, even guns,
swords.
and they get to walk back inside. Some of them don't even get arrested.
Hell, we see people commit mass murder and get arrested. So you're going after a killer. This motherfucker just shot 25 people. This person just killed children. You know what I mean? So if there's anybody you should be afraid of.
And take them to Burger King.
Right.
Take them to Burger King.
Yes, sir.
You just killed a bunch of people, but you hungry? Let's go on by here and get you a double Whopper or something, because you're gonna be in the cell for a while. So let me get you something to eat.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
So let's move right along before we jump into the main topic. The Capitol and this holiday they had on the 6th, the parade that they had, because it wasn't an insurrection, it wasn't anything. They were just a tourist on a tourist site. They were just going to see the Capitol, and they knocked on a couple of doors, asked the people to come out. Let's talk to. They wanted to talk. They wanted to meet they political people that was holding office.
Well, it's the same thing when little Stevie McMichaels steals a car, is joyriding. But you know what I'm saying, when Detron, you know what I'm saying, when Detron and Tyrone steal a car,
it's Grand Theft Auto.
You know what I mean? Tomato. It is this. One is one has an opioid addiction and one's just a junkie. You know what I mean? One appears on Intervention, the other one appears on Scared Straight.
Or,
you know what I'm saying?
Or that other show, Cops.
There you go. Cops.
When Cops. It was on. Right.
So, but what do you want? They want to soften up their base to, they're trying to see how excited people will be for Trump to make a return. You know what I mean? So before they sell him out, they want to know exactly how much pull he has. So just in case, and clearly he still has juice. So you talking down the severity of the insurrection is a little bit of political safety net, if you're a Republican. You know what I mean? So they're just playing the game. Nobody believes what the fuck they say when it comes to these politicians anyway. So, they're all full of shit. Pardon my French.
Yeah, I guess what was going on was that, from last year, from the impeachment and everything, they were saying that possible members of Congress would have voted, Republican members of Congress would have voted for the impeachment, were saying that their lives were being threatened by the voters. That they thought they were going to be murdered, if they voted to impeach and convict. But we don't see no proof of that. It could be all just be here, they just say that just because. And but yes, you're right, it's political theater. But it can't allow, I don't know how they allow that to happen, They don't want to put the commission together. The minority speaker coming out wants, for them to not do it, trying to do everything in it, for it not to happen. But I think, I guess as we're going into the next topic, I guess, Republican or Democratic, what have you, seeing what Democrats do or what they are most of the time what they don't do, it does always seem like they're being wimpy, and Republicans don't give a shit. If they say we're going to tear this wall down, they're going to tear this wall down. If we say they're going to not allow Black people to vote by any means necessary, they're going to find every way, which way to do that. And they, as we can see, they're enacting all these laws to do that, but they'll say it's something else. So I think the American people deserve to know, just like how, I'm on my computer. Yeah, just like the American people need to know, know what's going on, and they need to have this commission. And I think a lot of people, Republicans, are scared of what would come out, because I think a lot of them were complicit. A lot of them were complicit in what happened, before, during, and after.
And that is to say that you were of the belief that if a commission was formed, it would actually come out and definitively say that not only was it an insurrection, but it was instigated, propagated by the former president. And if they couldn't impeach him, how the HE double hockey sticks would a commission come back months later?
I don't know if they will come out and definitively say that,
and actually
but
say that this was an insurrection. I think a commission would be more just, it would be content for 24/7 news media, and that is all.
It'd just be a little circus.
It is a circus show, right? It is a circus show.
A dog and pony show.
Circus.
Yeah, it's a circus show.
Circus.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for those who stay tuned to their one channel. You know what I mean, and memorize all the lines. You know what I mean. So like, sometimes at night, by 10 o'clock comes on, I'm sitting down and say, okay, it's 10 o'clock. I have to be sitting down now on the sofa, about to turn on the TV or whatever. You know what? I got 15 minutes for entertainment. So I watched the opening minutes of CNN and Fox just to hear what the hell these people talking about and what bullshit that they're feeding their base. I could, after about 15 minutes, I get enough and okay, I'm tuned out, because then it's all monologue for all the speaking points afterwards for all these so-called experts and their sarcasm or whatever. But yeah, it's pointless. I think I'm jumping the gun to the main subject. Does it matter Republican or Democrat? No.
But that's why we're segueing right into that.
Don't matter.
With the state of the country in this dog and pony show that they're giving the people, is it necessary to have only two political parties for the majority of the government? Because do we even have anybody that's in another party is sitting in the office, in a federal office?
Not really. I think everybody is either you're a Republican, Democrat, or independent, or maybe you are i.e. libertarian or something like that. So, yeah.
Okay.
What is Bernie Sanders called? He's a Democrat socialist, a socialist Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually independent right now. But see, that's not a political party. That's not a political party being independent. That just say you can't make up your mind.
But see, that's the problem. Why we got to choose between them two? So
but I'm just saying
third party.
Yeah, I'm saying
government, actually participation and allowing this third party, whatever, and people who regard themselves as Democrat or people who regard themselves as Republican. I think it would take years to get enough people who identify with one party to open their mind up to and actually participate in some sort of vote or movement to actually officially form a third party. You know what I mean? But then the third party is like, well, what would those ideas be? Because to me, Democrats and the Republicans are just polar opposites of each other. So for a third party to make sense, it would have to be something in the middle, in between. And we're requiring people to use common sense to attain heights that require greed and self-indulgence.
Well, I would say that I feel like they're one and the same, because the Democrats, historically, the Democratic Party comes from the Republican Party, and I'm like, they still have the core values of a Republican. They just talk about it different. They go about it different, But at the same point, they do not. Nothing has changed from Democrats being in charge. We still have the same problems. We still have the same issues. And if they were so much on our side, why has nothing really changed?
I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. Left and right wing, same bird.
Mm-hmm. Take both wings to fly.
Right.
So it takes both wings to hold us back.
Absolutely. And it's funny when I watched my Fox CNN, simulcast or whatever, to hear the opening remarks, whether it's from Don Lemon or Cuomo or Tucker Carlson, freaking idiot, or Hannity, right? It's like they'll talk about the same subjects, but like you said, it's like two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? Just the spin that they put on it is so polar opposite, and everything's just created to get you to just feel like the other parties just got it all wrong. Mm-hmm. And whenever I try to engage someone in like an intellectual conversation, if they're diehard about their party, they always distract by talking about something else, a totally unrelated topic. But you know what I mean? It's like because this topic now I might agree with you here. It might reflect what the Republicans say. There's like, well, how can you disagree with the Republicans on this if you agree with the Republicans on that? So it's like it's an all or nothing game when you're talking to people who are, politically minded. You know what I mean? And I think that's the destructive point we're at, with just these two parties. And that's why nothing gets done.
I agree with you because there is to the point, like you said, if a Republican believe in this, Democrats say it's bad, and it's like, and you don't even go and look at the issues. You're just going off the Democrats saying it's bad, and vice versa. If a Republicans say that something that the Democrats are doing bad, the rest of the Republicans not going to do it, not look at it. They're just going to assume that is bad. Look at the people that follow Trump. They don't find the real information. They just say, well, Donald said it. It must be true.
Right. It's party over everything.
But let me ask a question. So, you both said, they both are this, I guess I don't know, same coin, the same side of the coin. They do the same thing. We still have the same problems, the same issues. But as it stands today in this, as politics stands today, my opinion is it just be far worse under a Republican government, and it got trashed last 4 years, and I know it was heading to be trashier and crazier. That's just my opinion. In terms of what we see happen, what we see not happening. And yes, when you listen to those shows, what is one extreme, to the other. But when I listen to and, what's happening and what I see, the blockades that go up, all of it is not because of Trump. All of it is not because of Trump. Okay. And, the GOP is just basically like, fuck it. We don't really care. They're going to, Mitch said, from back in Obama days, I'm going to make this man a one-term president. And basically he's come out and, in essence, wanted to do the same thing, that they're just hell-bent on just being this, what's the word I was looking for? They don't want to have anything, pretty much go through, even if it can help the people. They're just hell bent on being obstructive. That's their plan. Being obstructive, deny everything, try not to pass nothing, even if it seems like it will help the people. And to me, that doesn't sit right. And I think when you look at what the other party does, some of the, I believe that, there's more things that are being done to help the American people than what, anybody that refutes, what, the two-party system, is good for or not. I think right now one is more destructive than the other. And that is the minority side right now. Because that's what they're hell-bent on, is to destroying everything. They don't seem like they're willing to burn everything, to the ground because they are not in power. And if they're in power, their sole purpose is to remain in power, and they'll do whatever it takes to remain in power, which means destroying, i.e., quote unquote, whatever democracy that we have. That's just my take.
Is when you talk to a hardcore Republican, they adamantly feel that yes, there is one side that's worse than the other. And for them, that side that's worse is the Democrats. You know what I mean? But everybody's like judging bad, differently. You know what I'm saying? So if having healthcare, Obamacare was important to you, then yes, Republicans keeping party would have been worse. because you would have lost your health care. Now, if you talk to a Republican right now, well, what's bad or what the Democrats are doing that's making it worse is more of definitely on the social side, because you have like these the transgender issue and their participation in sports, for example, is a hot button topic. So that's one thing the Republicans say is making it worse. And although it's not Joe Biden's fault, the current inflation and gas prices and just the overall national debt, that's a result of the continued stimulus, they will say is what makes the Democrats worse, because on a national level, it's going to have more significant impacts and greater ripple effects down the road. Whereas Democrats look at, well, who's putting hands in the money of regular everyday people. So it depends on how you judge it as to, what's, who's really bad. For me, because I'm independent and I hear both sides like that, I think they're both inefficient and incomplete. So when it comes to really touching the masses versus just the big businesses or the poorest of the poor, but those who you would call middle class and responsible, just whatever, who, make too much money for welfare, but definitely, still broke, you know what I mean? They're sort of left out on both sides, you know what I mean? And it's more of a, that socioeconomic block, regardless of their color, is almost voting based on principles, who they think is right.
But
Even though
Detron,
they don't get nothing.
but I would say that's the side that they pit against everybody, is that middle class in fear of losing and becoming that lower class and being taxed when a greater portion of the tax should be put on that upper class. And they use the middle class white American in fear of blacks. They use that to if they move in your neighborhood, it's gonna depreciate. Who said it's gonna depreciate?
Right. I hear you. So, right, that's from the Republican side. Fear of, black people coming into your area.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats, though, for me, they take advantage of our fear of actually being independent. The Democrat message to me, especially to black folks, promotes one of dependence.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the power, vote for us, and we will make it all right. We will do this for you. You know what I mean? On the Republican side, their attitude is about being independent. Now, however, they don't care about black people. You know what I'm saying? However, theoretically, that message of independence, that culture of independence, I think is something that black people need.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to break away from this dependence on our elected officials to do things for us. Because I think the do things, we still narrow it down to, okay, what they actually did for us, gave to us, what they produced, what we were able to take away or walk away with, versus doing something to create an environment so I could do this shit on my own, just get out my way. I want to run, I'm a runner too. So make sure there are no potholes on my track. I don't need you to give me the trophy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I will stitch together my own uniform and I'll train, but get the bottles and the potholes and the grass off my track so I can run the race with everybody else. You know what I mean? And then let me start at the same starting line versus
being 10 feet back.
Exactly. Because if you put me 10 feet back and then, you barter for me with assistance, with my time because of this and that, it comes with stipulations that I find still hold us back. You know what I mean? I think some of the things that they offer are so surface. You know what I mean? It sounds good on paper because they made this available. Like even if they talk about making money available for black businesses, yeah, they might have voted to pass this legislation or whatever to make money available. But then we look at it, well, how you get the money? Well, shit, we pay you back. So you got to sit up here and front all the dough yourself, you know what I mean, to participate in this program, and then we'll reimburse you. Knowing that we ain't got it like that, or a lot of people don't got it like that. You know what I mean? So you win the social, the moral battle because publicly you pass this and say you giving this and that available for so and so, knowing, you know, where the rubber meets the road, you know what I mean? Only the certain people gonna get it. You know what I mean?
The prime example during this is the PPP, how it was set up, and how corporate America was getting a bigger share, and black and small businesses wasn't getting anything. Which one you gonna jump on, Irie?
I thought that was your twin brother.
Let me get off the phone.
I'll get you. Yeah, but I mean, you know, made me lose what I was saying.
You're talking about the PPP.
Yeah, the
and
PPP.
The black business not, you know, being set up or able to get access to the funds or get a greater share.
Yes, because now you're like, you have to have a certain amount of credit. If you're trying to build a business and you're operating off credit, you might not have all that credit you need right then to get the PPP. And then it's like, oh, how you determine what a small business is. Business with no more than 500 employees. To some people, that's a large business.
Well, that just goes to show, you know, terms are relative. Because, you know, to the banks, to Wall Street, 500 employees is small. You know what I mean? Now, mind you, when you look at the employed in America, the majority of the employed come from businesses that are small, that have 500 less people. So they employ the majority of folks. However, you know, who pays, you know, the most money, you know, for those who are making, you know, money, you know, so you know where that's, you know, coming from. But I would say for all the black business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed persons, if you try to get EIDL, if you tried to get PPP and it didn't work for you, even if you got a little bit, this should have been a great learning experience because you just got 8 years of business school education and going through the process to get this paperwork together. And you should have been able to identify exactly what you're not categorizing properly, what you're not labeling properly, what you're not filing in order to be recognized by the authorities as a legit viable institution. You know what I'm saying? So this is stuff that you probably don't even learn in business school. Anyway, so you just got $100,000 education going through this process. If nothing else, because something else will happen again. You know what I mean? And the foundation has been laid. This is going to be what happens. You know what I'm saying? Some major shit happens. We got bailouts for the big boys, but then, hey, we could do some stuff for the small people too, because the government has debt. And this is a great way for them to put their hands in our pockets. You know what I'm saying? Because if it ain't forgiven, you got to pay it back. And if it's a loan, that's what you got. You got to sit up here and run us our money. And we ain't gonna let you off the hook. You know what I mean? And if it really gets short, we'll just garnish your wages then on your job. We will sit up here and take away your tax refund. We might put a lien on your house, but the government, they can do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? You own paperwork. Like you own child support. You own papers.
Or worse, you on parole, you on papers.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But it was a great learning opportunity, I think, for many people. And I think a big wake up for us is that we got to stop thinking small too. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out there with legitimate businesses and they make money, but they don't want to pay taxes. So it's funny how, because we run down on, because you made the comment about how the people who make more money should be paying more in taxes, but it's a whole bunch of people who make, regular money, middle class money, who don't pay as much taxes as they should, because like if you work for yourself, even if you just making $50,000, which is about average middle class income, whatever corporate America pay, but you making it yourself, part of the thing you're trying to win at is not pay taxes on the $50,000 that you made. You know what I mean? I was at American Express and made $50,000. I paid taxes on $50,000. They took their taxes first. But if I work for myself and make 50, I get to spend my money first and pay taxes later. You know what I mean? And I can sit up here and talk with my accountant or whatever. Well, I got these kids, so how much I need to claim as income, to get the maximum refund plus this credit plus this credit. Well, and I'm gonna write all this stuff off when we keep our incomes low for that benefit, because we thinking about the short term and the now, and that's small in the grand scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? And doing stuff like that keeps a lot of us from being able to buy houses, because then we try to buy a house and we ain't claiming enough income, even though we got the money. You know what I mean? So this is just stuff in the game that we got to learn, that is outside politics. You know what I mean? But if we get our shit together, then we can sit up here and donate to a campaign, that we want, to get the person at the local level that we want, to do things, in our cities that we live in, municipalities that we frequent, where we do our business, where we shop, where we live, where we pay taxes, where our kids go to school, you know what I mean? And then we can start getting things done on those small local levels. And then we could just build, you know what I mean? We can take the power if we take the time.
Okay, so let's spin this back onto the how do you feel the party system is affecting that?
So the Republicans, obviously, are all, big companies, almost like trickle down effect. Give the people who make the most money the biggest tax breaks. Give the corporations tax breaks so they can reinvest, they can create jobs, and that's what's going to keep America moving. Okay, so well, if you do that, you run into that same issue, because when there's a contract available or there's assistance available, the small companies that would be minority owned, because my focus is on us, you know what I mean? We can't take advantage of those programs because we don't have the capital to fund everything that needs to be done in order for us to participate. So we're left out there. But then on the Democrat side, I don't really know what it is what they want to do. I mean, they talk about the poorest of the poor and the most disenfranchised, and that's about it. Outside of that, some infrastructure stuff, or I really don't know. And it's like okay, education, make school available. They want for school kids and preschool and mothers, and I mean that's helpful, that's useful. But in regards to us getting our shit together and being independent, you know what I mean? Does that really help in that regard? Not really. So that's why I say the parties are ineffective, because their speaking points and what they focus on, the toppers of the top 10% or the bottom 10% seems to be their focus. So everybody's at 80% in between. There's nothing for us. So I think that's the hurt of the two-party system. You know what I mean? Because I think it's like the American conscience is divided over, well, who should be helped? Should it be the top 10 who create everything, or should it be the bottom 10 who don't have anything? You know what I mean? And that's a hard question to answer, because there's a ton of money available in this country. But before the money goes to people, it's almost like we got to prove that it's not your fault. You know what I mean?
And I agree with you, because I was just talking about this the other day, especially when I tell a person that I'm recognized as a Republican. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, well, why is that? Because I say that Republicans give you the information, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to push through. They're going to inform the people in their party. I said, Democrats don't inform you. You don't know what the Democrats want to do until it's time to get your vote. Then they're going to tell you something they feel you want. and that's the thing. I said, I said one thing that turned me off the Biden when he told the people, and he was on the radio, you not black if you don't vote for me. What makes you think I got to vote for you? You should be trying to earn my vote instead of just feeling I just owe you an allegiance.
Right. Right. And that keeps them from having to do anything. So they can do things that are lip service and people feel like, okay, something's happening, but it doesn't matter. It's good we got health care. So that was my reason for voting for Biden, to keep my health care. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't care. You can make $100,000, $200,000 a year. Hospital bed for 5 nights is $100,000. So it'll blow through your money real quick if you don't have health care. So we're supposed to be the richest country in the land. You know what I mean? Other countries who are not as affluent as us, GDP isn't as high as ours, has free health care, to their citizens, have maternity leave and stuff like that. So it's possible it could be done. And they're industrialized nations. So healthcare was my one sticking point. Outside of that,
and that's my major issue. That inform the people, have a game plan. Don't come to me telling me giving me lip service, as you said, just telling me something you feel I want to hear. Or we're gonna give you jobs. We're gonna go for police reform. We're gonna make it better for black people. No, show me. Show me the
student loans, Joe. They asked about them student loans, Joe.
They
asked about them student loans. But we're on our own, bro. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I think certain topics matter, and when the major elections come along, like healthcare was a big issue. So do you want to keep healthcare or not? And I'm willing as a regular citizen to pay more taxes if it means that everybody has healthcare. Because I just think that's the right thing to do, and the money is there. You know what I mean? The antagonistic tone against free healthcare is stemmed to racist traditions and beliefs and roots. I don't think the majority of people are aware of that anymore. You know what I mean? So that would be the even group. Like, so what I mean, like, everything's meant to be divisive. So I think you can articulate to the public that this attitude about your being against free healthcare is tied to when healthcare was desegregated, and then you had black people now being able to get healthcare, and obviously this was during the Great Deal and welfare, all stuff came out, and there was pushback because I don't want to pay taxes and sit up here and make them niggas go to the doctor. You know what I mean? So that's where it started. But now that's been totally shrouded in just the politics of, you should not be paying for the people to have healthcare. They should just get a job. But what they don't understand is that when healthcare became desegregated, the compromise was, yes, on the national level, we can't segregate. Everybody's going to get healthcare. But now it came down to the states to decide how that was going to be administered. And it came down to, okay, now you having a job. You know what I mean? So the employment opportunities were still in white people's control. So if you were white and racist and didn't want to give a nigga a job, then therefore he didn't have no health care. Then therefore he had to go get on Medicaid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a government program. So now how much is the government spending on this? And then now it becomes a political talking point because you're spending all this money while these people working. But then they have no understanding of how the welfare system was designed by Republicans and Democrats to make black people dependent on the government and keep them disenfranchised. No different than what America does to Haiti and other countries all around the world to keep them unstable and dependent on other governments and nations and
subsidies,
stuff like that. Yeah, you know what I mean? NGOs, non-governmental organizations, you know what I mean, that come in and donate all this stuff. But because now you flood their country with all this extra food or clothing, you mess up their textile industry, you mess up their agricultural industry. You know what I mean? Like, so All of that stuff was by design, and people miss it. So the Democrats will promote critical race theory and talk about white supremacy, right? And they will get credit from us for bringing this to the table. But I think, honestly, they bumble the conversation on purpose because they know they are not going to get the majority of America to sit up here and accept that, oh, because you're white, you're privileged automatically, or that America is inherently racist.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I sat here the other day and people was talking. I'm like, at the core, and I'm gonna keep saying this, we know at the core, America foundation is on racism.
Right.
At the core. And if you can't accept that, nothing will ever approve in America.
Right. But how do you get people to accept it? The conversation has to be mature. So for me, when the Democrats promote critical race theory, it is such a harsh, antagonistic, in your face approach. That's like saying defund the police means abolish the police. Get rid of the police force. Now, you know it can't be that extreme, but you create that argument that as soon as you say the term, people automatically going to be against you and antagonistic, and therefore that ruins any chance of dialogue. If you say that you're on this side, this is what you are, I'm on this side over here. So now the people, when they hear critical race theory, they're not going to sit up here and listen to any academic argument about because I'm white, I'm privileged, and I'm in debt to blacks for because of what happened in the past, or America's inherently racist. No, they don't want to accept that type of attitude and persona about their country. And I get that, you know what I'm saying? But for the Democrats not to clean up the conversation, to me, is a form of sabotage because they're smart people. You know what I mean? They know better, but they're allowing things to crumble before it even starts because it's just meant to make us feel like they're on our side. They're not really trying to advance or do anything.
And that's one of my key points in saying about Democrats. They're white supremacists too.
Yeah.
They're white supremacists too. So you have to realize the worst kind of white supremacist is the one that's gonna act like they're against white supremacy when they're going along with it all along. I can respect somebody who stand up to my face and tell me they ain't with this. I don't like y'all niggers. Okay, I know where you're coming from, but not the one that's saying, oh, this is racist. They should do something about it. But I'm not going to go out and do nothing about it. I'm just going to say they should do something about it. And when they try to bring something forth to do something about it, I'm not going to go along with it. Little do you know, behind closed doors, they're not going to go along with it.
And, you know, I try to hesitate from saying white supremacy, right? Are there white people that generally don't like black people? Absolutely. 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 But hell, there's black people that don't like black people. You know what I mean? Black people don't like themselves. You know what I mean? And it's all conditions of the racism that's been the cancer of America. I think the more acceptable conversation would be implicit bias. Because now it's like, all right, if we go back to, okay, when this thing started, and this was at its core, the motivation, right? We understand at its core back then, and we leave it to, okay, this was the motivation of the people then. This is how it was sort of manifested and evolved to something political now. I think people can sit back and understand that and try to meet in the middle. To say white supremacy is to sit up here and say that these people have a innate hate for blacks, and they have this innate sense of superiority. And I don't really think people have it that extreme. I think that we've been conditioned over the course of the years, certain ideologies and practices and processes that have people have a negative connotation towards others automatically. And it cuts both ways. You know what I'm saying? When I'm in public and I see another black man, I have to tell myself, don't size him up. Well, shit, if I'm black And I got to remind myself not to size up my brother and instead, like, peace, brother. What's up? You know what I mean? And look like there's some camaraderie and communicate, respect.
Mhm.
If I have to tell myself to do that, well, how much more does a white man have to tell himself when he interacts with not only one black person, but a bunch of black people? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If it's been effective enough for us to be conditioned to sit up here and, be like dogs and the hair raised on our back when we see another one of us, you know what I mean? Well, how can we expect them to just love us? You know what I mean? It's a disease that has affected both us and them, when they deal with us. You know what I mean? That's why I was like, I love them. I think that was such a great film. You know what I mean? Because it really showed like the mask. You know what I mean? I like the husband's character because everybody had a different demon that they dealt with, and the black man, he dealt with like a Sambo type character. So it was in blackface, but it really showed both ways because it was not only the blackface that he as a black man sees when he looks in the mirror, but it's also recognizing that when he's not wearing that mask and he's just being a man and confident in himself and his ability as a human being, made an image of God, that even when he's being that, to the others, they're looking at him like this caricature,
Mhm.
whether he's behaving this way or not. You know what I mean? So this mask has been put on our face, and we have to untrain ourselves to see it and to take it off, and they have to do it too. But we ain't gonna do it yelling at each other, telling them that they're white supremacists.
Mhm. Yeah, because I say I deal with a multitude of races, and with the job that I do, and like me and my friends that work together, we used to go on jobs, and we used to get what we call when they look at our work and see the example, and they look at us and they're like, "Y'all did this," and what we were saying, what they really were saying, "Y'all niggas did this for real."
Did that make you mad?
Nah, we just laughed about it because we were like, they don't know no better. It's like we talented just like the other people are. It's
Right.
like we feel we might even more talented, but
Right.
you got to give the opportunity to us, and then you'll be like, oh, because I have clients that look for me,
Right.
that look for
Right.
me, and I'm like, even with the amongst the other races that be, if I'm not there, they calling to see what's going on.
Right. And so now these people might have a genuine negative implicit bias about black people in general.
Mm-hmm.
However, they are not white supremacists because they respect you as a man and what you can do. And the part that I had to tell myself to get over is when they realize that they hit you with the, oh, you're not like
The
you're
others.
right. That's some very racist shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's extremely racist.
Because I say I know some dumb, ignorant white folks myself.
You know what I mean? But I always think like I know a whole bunch of other smart, talented black folks. I can take you to a whole community full. You know what I mean? But they don't grow up with us. You know what I mean? They watch us on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Their perception of us comes from the media. And because we're still so segregated, hell, our perception of us comes from the media. Because there's a whole bunch of people out there that's more like Chandler from Friends, even though they're very black. You know what I mean? But instead try to act like, you know what I mean? Dr. Dre,
Mm-hmm.
NWA. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Might not have been in the gang, but I was with the gang. You know what I mean?
Or like I like to give experiences that I have. Like I worked a job one time, and I remember my boss distinctively asking me this question.
Mm-hmm.
And when he had asked me that question, I looked up at him and really said, "You asking me this?" Okay, because he asked me straight up, and I'm not finna change no words. Because as we say, most people, if they came to that job, they would have thought all us was racist the way we talk. But he asked me, "Hey, do you know any nigger Jews?"
What?
Yeah. And I sat down, look, really? Oh, Okay. So then I came with an answer that he probably didn't think I was gonna come with. Well, technically, the original Hebrews are of African descent. So therefore, most Jews have come from a black heritage.
Mm. Nigger Jews. I mean, that's bad. That's bad. But you know, that's bad. That's bad.
But I said
That's bad.
but if you walk in there, you would have thought all of us was because I know we talk how we talk. Walk in, I'd be like, hey, what's up, cracker? but
that was the culture. That was the culture. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Because I'm saying that same person told the owner of the company that I was the best employee that they had. You know, and I was like, and then the owner was talking to me, and you know, and I'm just like, hey, cuz it's my job. I'm just here to do what I'm supposed to do. That's what I get paid to do.
Right. I would like for us to stop using that word, but you know, I was thinking about, you know, you talked about, you know, he asked you that crazy question and the way y'all talk, but at the same time, he gave you respect and your props and recognized your worth, and didn't have a problem sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about, like, you know, I watched CNBC, and Rachel Solomon is one of the melanated anchors. You'll see, have a little segment or have a little piece on CNBC. Very attractive woman too. So anyway, she was in charge of some report one time, and it talked about the unemployment rate or the wealth gap or some sort of economic disparity between us and white people, right? And I reached out to her. She didn't respond though. And I really asked her, well, what's the point of these type of stories? You know what I mean? Because your company and many others will periodically broadcast the financial disparities between blacks and whites. However, nobody talks about what created the disparity. And there's never any conversation about really how to close that disparity. And I think that right there is such a huge difference between the Democrats and Republicans, because they're both good at highlighting the disparity, but both are incomplete and totally handicapped, or what do you call it when you can't get it up? What's that word? You flaccid.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to, you know, identifying the cause of the inequality and actually doing something to address that cause. You know what I'm saying? So that right there is like, it doesn't matter, because when the subject comes up, the Democrats will talk about, give us this power and then we'll do this and provide more jobs, more education, stuff like that, and that'll close the gap. And then the Republicans are like, no, we're gonna make sure that their conversation is that, we make these, provisions for businesses, and if you're talented enough, you get your shit together, you take advantage, you jump in the game and get in where you fit in. But we ain't gonna do nothing for you. You know what I mean? So that's why I say they're both, I thought about that as you were talking, because the guy respects you, gave you your props and everything. And I was like, they're both like the Republicans and Democrats. Here's a disparity, here's a problem, but nobody's going to address the reason why. Figure it out, black people. Figure it out.
And that's what we have discussed this before, that we have to become an independent party, but there's some drawbacks by being independent. You don't get to vote in certain elections that happens, and what we have to do is figure out how, as becoming independent, how to force the states, because it's up to the states if we vote or not, to force the states into letting us vote in those situations. Because
that was on our ballot last time.
Mm-hmm.
That option was on the ballot last time when it came to, I think, the governor and a couple other seats. To say an independent, could, participate or for, in this election, but most people said no. But here's the thing, though. The Republicans that I know were told by their people that they look up in the Republican Party, the speaking points were to say, no, don't open it up. The Democrats gave their base the same instruction. No, not to open it up.
Because they lose power that way.
Right. You know what I mean? So you say, because you ask, like, how do we make it happen? Well, some force raised up enough money and got enough signatures to actually have it on the ballot. But the powers that be simply told their bases, don't vote for it for these contrived reasons, these speaking points, and it killed it. It killed it.
And I think what it is, too, that we didn't have enough people out to campaign that this was on the ballot and why you should vote yes on it. Because then
takes money.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You got to have the lobbyists to do that. Well, because once you do that, they understand, hey, this is a fundamental reason why you should do it, because it opens up the power structure.
Who's going to pay for the lobbyists? So that requires some sort of organization. And maybe the people that create the organization are genuine and pure, and they want to get the message out. Maybe they have their own agenda. I don't know. That's why it's like, for me, while not saying we don't need politicians, and I'm not saying stop voting or nothing like that. I think that for us, we need to put our own independence first and think about ourselves, our family, and our brethren as a people before we even metastasize into this new power structure or this base. You know what I mean? Because when more people are sufficient and independent, imagine if everybody out there had, $5,000 just disposable cash that they could sit up here and like, it's got $5,000. I can do whatever I want with it. I don't need it to pay my bills. I don't need it to take care of my kids. The election's coming up. I'm going to put it towards a campaign. Well, if I got 5 and you got 5, Chef got 5, you know what I mean? Other people and I know got 5. Well, we got $100,000 now. You know what I mean? So if we decide, even though it's without being public, without going to the newspaper, if we decide we're going to put up $100,000 and here's a local election coming up and we're going to help try to push somebody through, then we therefore can create this lobbyist movement. We can donate to a campaign. We can sit up here and get some influence. We can get invited to dinners and we can start meeting individuals. And if we want to form a super PAC, well, if we got 5,000 disposable income, you know what I mean? If we're there financially, then hey, well, how long is it going to take for you to get another 5? You know what I mean? Then regular people can begin to do things. You know what I'm saying? But as long as we have nothing and we got no chips, we can't sit at the table. And we're dependent on charity. You know what I mean? And we're expecting the people with the power to give us education and information and the resources to take the power away from them.
Hey, that's why they didn't want us to read.
I'm just saying. And now at this point, if you want to keep a secret, put it in writing. Because they ain't gonna read no way. You know what I mean?
It gotta be on social media for them to read it.
Right. Right. And then that's a whole game because I got my social media account and I got 500,000 bots ready to like my shit. You know what I mean? So you're gonna think this argument's very popular and there must be something going wild. You know what I mean? I'm paying for another 100,000 comments.
Yeah. Well, let's say we coming to this end of this and we lost Irie. I'm gonna have to say we're gonna have to continue this conversation because it is getting to that hour. We gotta let me tell the people that if they looking for Irie, he was having technical difficulties this evening and we lost his signal and he couldn't get back on. And my dog says hello to everyone. she's not asleep this evening. As you can see, not in the background snoring.
That's right. I did hear the dog snoring.
But you have anything to tell the people where they can find you, Detron?
Well, you can find me on social media. My name, Detron Peoples. Had to go private. So if you're a real person, if you want to talk money, that's my game in financial services. So whether you want to do some financial planning or review some, stuff that you already have in place, retirement related or whatever, want to buy a house, we're mortgage brokers as well. So pretty much almost whatever you need, we can probably get it done for you. So just look me up by my name, Detrone, Peoples, Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, I think, is Detron_P. I think is me. And if you're a real person and you want to follow me, I'll follow you back, or you can send me a message. And if you're a real person, we can chat and meet. Everything is via Zoom.
Okay. So I'm going to close this out. This has been another episode of The Bridge. Catch us next week. Until then, peace.
More power to the people.